I'm ready.
All right. Call this meeting to order. Please stand for the invocation and bring sanctity.
We'll do the
Table.
roll call.
A roll call.
Commissioner Decker?
Here.
Densberger?
Here.
Jeffers?
Here.
Call?
Here.
Mayor Mingus? All present, Your Honor.
There we go.
Okay, shall we pray? Heavenly Father, thank you for this beautiful day we've experienced throughout our city and the area. We thankful for the new school year, which is here. And I know the teachers are working hard, have worked hard the last few weeks getting their classrooms ready in anticipation of their students. And I know it's quite a change for them as well as the kids coming and some just to school for the first time or full day for the first time. And that can be sort of unpleasant, but also a good time with their friends as they learn to meet new friends. We do pray for them. Thank you for our servants, people who serve there, teaching, the support they receive from the staff and police and fire and so forth. That a little bit more on call, it would seem, for this time of year. So we do pray for safety for the travel of the buses and the cars throughout the city. We do thank you for the opportunity to serve and conduct the city's business tonight. We pray your will be done. So we thank you now. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of minutes, please.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the minutes of the regular meeting held on August 7, 2018 be approved as printed.
Second, please.
Second.
Commissioner Decker, discussion, roll call.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Densberger?
Aye. Sir.
Jeffers?
Aye.
Call?
Aye.
Mayor Mingus?
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. Communications.
I don't have any communications tonight, Your Honor.
Thank you. Anything from the council on an agenda item come forward? On an agenda item, Don?
Go ahead.
I noticed there was a large workman's comp payment on the scheduled bills. Can you tell us how we're doing this year compared to last year and about where we are with claims and how many claims we had compared to last year and what the city may be doing to reduce those costs to the taxpayer?
I don't have numbers for you this evening, Don, but I can tell you claims are up substantially over the last couple of years. Police, for example, I believe has chief 8 or 9.
We have 9. We still have 3 work comp and pregnancy.
And I know fire has had some, and we had 2 or 3 years of relatively good experience. Our carrier has worked diligently with us to review claims, to do what we can to improve safety and such. I'd like to say it's cyclical, but not entirely. I know that, for instance, fire, I believe Chief Knapp is taking a look at exercise programs and such to better condition firefighters for the work, but we continually review safety procedures and try to enforce those as much as possible and to encourage safety on the job. But yes, this has been a very poor year for workers' compensation.
Do you know what the dollar value is that we've had to pay out?
I do not know off the top of my head, no, Don. I can get that for you. I'll ask Mr. Becker to pull it together the next day or two.
No. All right, thank you.
We had Commissioner Call and I attended a meeting about a month or two ago to really ensure the pressure's on for us to look at that and get people back to work.
Yeah, it's an alarming number.
It
so
is.
We'll get you that number.
Welcome, sir.
Am I allowed to ask a question on a non-agenda item?
I'll tell you, you're allowed to make any comment. Usually it's at the end of the meeting, but go ahead.
Okay. It's come to my attention that there was a theft in Public Works. That employee was fired. And that employee has now been brought back to work. And my question would be, who made that decision? overriding the department head, and why would we let this happen?
I did.
Okay, can you explain to me why you made that decision?
I can say what I can say. The fact is, it was, there are two sides to every story. They went to a third step of a grievance process where it came to me, and ultimately I had to make a final decision.
Okay, based on what? Theft is all right, is what you're saying?
No, absolutely not. But I'm not going to go into detail with you.
Well-
Are we okay, Dennis, so far?
So far.
Personnel issues, so I'm going to go back and forth. Continue on, sir.
Okay, was there a police report filed on this theft?
I believe so, after the fact, I believe.
Yes, there was.
Okay. As a manager for DHL Air Freight for 25 years, I'm retired now. You know, I have fired employees, which I don't like to do, but when they steal from the company, or in this case, steal from our government, and us taxpayers have to pay the difference, that employee is not allowed to come back to work under any circumstances.
Just realize there are two sides to every story.
Okay, but we're never going to hear the other side.
You're correct.
Well, there's something wrong when the people that you are responsible for don't get to hear what really happened.
They're employee matters. We really can't.
Well, I think the police report is a matter of public record, so
Yeah.
So Freedom of Information Act, I could get the police report.
absolutely.
Okay. Because from my perspective, it doesn't matter what the amount is. I fired an employee for taking the license sticker off of his DHL van and putting it on his personal vehicle. At that time, it was a $78 license ticket, and this was, or license sticker, and this was a 28-year employee. So consequently, you know, he made a mistake, but in my opinion also, a thief is a thief. They will steal what they can get away with. So the dollar amount doesn't matter in my perspective.
Once again, sir, there are two sides to every story.
Okay, I will give Freedom of Information Act to get the police report, because I'd like to read that also.
Thank you, sir, very much.
And I think it's important to state for the record, since this came up in a public meeting, I personally don't know any other member of this council that supported that decision. So I want that to be known.
There, in my opinion, is more the reason that we need to have a change of the form of government that we have. Quite honestly, because we have one commissioner sets all the rules for each department. And that may not be the right decision to make if we had all 5 of you voting on that particular subject.
I can agree with that statement, sir.
All right.
Thank
That's
you,
my
sir.
only comment.
Absolutely, thank you. Anybody else? Seeing no one else, consent agenda, we have agreement. Commissioner Densberger, carry on, please.
Okay. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt a consent agenda consisting of items numbered 1 through 7 as listed on the agenda for this meeting to be considered by omnibus vote.
Second, please.
Second.
Commissioner Call. Discussion, roll call, please.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Densberger?
Aye.
Jeffers?
Aye.
Call?
Aye.
Mayor Mingus?
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you very much.
In which case, Mr. Mayor, I move you that items numbered 1 through 7 listed on the consent agenda be hereby approved and adopted. The items numbered 2 through 7, having been read once by their title and having laid on the table for no less than 1 week for public inspection, be adopted as presented.
Second, please.
Second.
Commissioner Call. Discussion, roll call, please.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Densberger?
Thank you,
Aye.
sir.
Jeffers?
Aye.
Call?
Aye.
Mayor Mingus?
Aye.
Present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you very much.
And then moving on with the regular agenda, Your Honor. Mr. Mayor, I move you that ordinance number 4409, hereto attached, an ordinance changing the zoning classification of certain real property located at 303 North Summit be accepted on its first reading, is read by its title, and be laid on the table for no less than 1 week for public inspection.
Second, please.
Second.
Commissioner Call.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Any dis-
Your Honor, this is, relates to some property as described on Summit. There's about 200 feet of frontage. The idea is to change it from R1 to R3, which would allow for two-family dwellings. The thought is the petitioner would like to develop some duplexes.
Very good. Other discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Densberger?
Aye.
Jeffers?
Aye.
Call?
Aye.
Mayor Mingus?
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you very much.
Next, Mr. Mayor, I move you that ordinance number 4410 hereto attached, an ordinance authorizing a special use for property located at 103 North Summit Road, be accepted on its first reading as read by its title and be laid on the table for no less than 1 week for public inspection.
Second, please.
Second.
Commissioner Call.
Thank you, Commissioner. This again has to do with the same area of town. We have a individual that wants to develop a storage lot, essentially, and there are some conditions attached to this special use that the petitioner would need to comply with. One being fence around the storage yard needs to include some sort of screening, whether slats or mesh. The storage yard needs to be paved where vehicles operate. The petitioner would need to indicate to the board how the yard will be used. A handicap space needs to be placed in an appropriate location relative to the front door of the property. Landscaping needs to be installed per a plan that's already been submitted, and all work for the special use needs to be completed prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy for the building. And this was completed, this was supported by a 6-0 vote of the ZBA. Ty, anything else?
I will mention this is a new business in the community. Mr. Fussner is bringing his landscaping business here. The outdoor storage and display component he's going to have, as you can imagine with the landscaping business, some opportunities for people to come purchase landscaping bulk materials, as well as having materials in the back for his business. So we're excited to have a new business here in the community.
Thank you.
Very good. Other discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Densberger?
Aye.
Jeffers?
Aye.
Call?
Thank you, sir.
Mayor Mingus?
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you.
And my final item, Your Honor, is resolution number 1819-054. Be it resolved by the Council of the City of East Peoria, Illinois, that resolution number 1819-054 hereto attached, a resolution approving a service agreement for the city's computer and IT network appliance maintenance at a total annual cost not to exceed $11,512.92 be approved, and that this resolution number 1819-054 be accepted on its first reading as read by its title, be laid on the table for no less than 1 week for public inspection.
Second, please.
Second.
Commissioner Call.
Thank you, Commissioner. Currently, we have 4 Barracuda Network appliances handling all the email archiving, email spam filtering, perimeter security, and such. We've requested proposals from 3 vendors. 2 vendors replied. Hart Technologies, while it was not the lowest bid, staff felt that it was the best bid and that we've got experience with them. And there was a difference of 5.55% higher than the lower bid from Entree Computer Solutions.
Thank you. Other discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Densberger?
Aye.
Jeffers?
Aye.
Call?
Aye.
Mayor Mingus?
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you
That's all
very
I have
much.
at this time, sir.
That's one of the shortest agendas you've had in a long time.
Yes, it is.
Commissioner Decker, please.
One item, Mayor. Ordinance number 4412. Mr. Mayor, I move you that ordinance number 4412 hereto attached. An ordinance authorizing a loan for financing acquisition of a recycling truck for Public Works Department be accepted on its first reading as read by its title. Be laid on the table for no less than 1 week for public inspection.
Second, please.
Second.
Commissioner Call.
Thank you, Commissioner Call. I'll let Dennis talk about this. We have received delivery a couple times for this item, and no big problem. They just put something on the wrong side and they quickly fixed it and got it back to us. The reason for this is, if you remember how we did the financing, we did part of it because we started the sales tax. I'll let Dennis be a little bit more detailed. I guess budget year is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's correct, Commissioner. We did, throughout the budget process this year, we did budget for half of this vehicle this year, half of this vehicle next year. This is literally a one-year loan, which means our first payment would be due in 6 months, which would fall in this 18-19 budget year. The second payment would then fall in the 19-20 budget year, which was agreed upon when we originally did the budget piece of it. So we can't obviously buy half a truck. We need to have a whole one, so we did that and moved through. And it did show up, and it's actually sitting at Public Works today. As soon as I get stickers and stuff, I'll get it out to you so you can all see some pictures and stuff after we get it out.
I was thinking, when Don was talking earlier about commenting about this, it'll be a while before we'll be able to, I guess, prove any benefit as far as workman's comp, but we believe that at least in our solid waste department, that we are making strides in taking away a lot of the risk for workman's comp cases. Our garbage service is becoming much safer. And if you all see our garbage, our solid waste drivers out driving around and working hard, but many times people don't realize in the winter with all the packed snow and ice, it becomes a much more difficult of a job. The more trucks we can get like this, that we have the automatic arm, the less times we're forced to go back to the other trucks. So we're in pretty good shape now. We've been needing this for quite some time, and we are thrilled to get it.
Very good. Other discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Decker?
Thank
Aye.
Densberger?
Aye.
Jeffers? Call?
Aye.
Mayor Mingus?
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you very much.
That's all I have right now, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Decker. Commissioner Jeffers, please.
I have a couple items, Mr. Mayor. The first one here is a large dollar amount, and I will read it. Mr. Mayor, I move you that ordinance number 4411 here to attach an ordinance authorizing the City of East Peoria to borrow funds in an amount not to exceed $57,348,000 from the Water Pollution Control Loan Program for the city's sanitary sewer system upgrade project be accepted on its first reading as read by its title and be laid on the table for no less than 1 week for public inspection.
Second, please.
Second.
Commissioner Call.
Thank you, Commissioner Call. Many months ago, we, as a council, voted to adjust our rates to cover the costs leading up to this program, whereas we are rebuilding and not just Plant 1, which is our main plant, which covers 75% of our flow, but we're also upgrading our Plant 3 as well as other systems within the sewer system. And we've had estimated the cost then. This gives us actually a top dollar amount for a loan. We're in the process of the Illinois EPA, and I'll let Dennis go ahead and just give us a quick overview of that and the program itself as a whole.
The Illinois EPA has earmarked funds for being able to do this type of project. Reason we have to kind of ask for it all up front and get the approval by the council is to be allowed to process through these loan payments. This will not just be one big loan, but each phase will become a separate loan followed after construction with a process where we begin to make payments back on the 20-year process. It's all part of the spreadsheet, the giant spreadsheet that we had when we started it. We had to put rates in place to be able to cover all those payments for the next 20 years just based on this amount to be financed. The amount to be financed includes not just the loan principal, some contingency funds that are put in there, construction services part of the project, the loan costs and fees. Of course, it does cost to borrow money no matter who you're doing through, as well as the engineering and design process. So this kind of rolls all those funds into one not to exceed style loan, and then we'll utilize that funding over the next 2 to 3 years as we get through the 4 intended phases of our project to be able to do that.
Just a comment. Now, we have like 5 phases, I think, of this, and maybe even a 6th one that's out there still pending as far as phosphates and so forth with the state. Would your view be, Dennis, that this 57 million plus that we really, I mean, it's hard to say exactly, but we don't think we'll approach that, but we don't know until the bids go out, and we'll know maybe even the next, after the first phase 1 or 2, we'll have an idea where the costs are going based on estimates and what we actually get.
Yeah, the real project itself consists of 5 phases. The first 3 phases are going to be bid out hopefully within the next couple months. This piece, the appropriation piece, has to be sent to the IEPA to be even considered to be able to earmark the money and pull it back and say this money belongs to the city of East Peoria. So without this appropriation piece and the public meeting piece that has to attend to that, the funds just float out there, and other communities have the option of being able to get their piece and account for that funding until there is no more funding. So one of the biggest pieces is we do need to get the approval to be able to continue to move ahead. The first 3 phases will be bid hopefully within the next couple months if we get through all of our approval processes. That'll still be on time to a roughly March construction date of 2019, which is still well within our realm of being able to do this project. We're hoping with, the only thing we have done different is we originally had Phase A and then B and then C separated by a year. But by pulling all those together, we hope that we can get one general contractor that's willing to kind of get a better deal by being able to get all 3 phases and be able to work on them, being able to work on Plant 1 and Plant 3 and the force main all at the same time, because they're all in 3 separate parts of the town. So we hope to capitalize on some economies of scale, as well as these are just engineering estimates to begin with. The market's really favorable right now. Construction companies are looking to keep their people busy, and they definitely want to have a project that's looking at a March start date with a year or a year and a half to 2 years build time that guarantees they've got work for their people. So this is the prime opportunity for us to move ahead with it.
I know we're looking at, we know that as an example, the large bridge construction work going on here the next couple, 3 years and beyond competes for contractors for different types of work, but it's still work. And I think what you said, by combining these phases together, we have an economy of scale. Perhaps it will save us money, which we've seen in other areas of government, whether it's road repair or slip lining and so forth. And so also, the sooner we can get these things up in new and efficiency and so forth, we begin to save money.
Correct, and as well as, you know, we're really struggling right now to keep things running as best as we possibly can. There's days we're utilizing workarounds to keep things going and continuing through our processes, and we're not in the best place to be able to continue Band-Aiding and duct taping things together to keep things operating. I mean, we're really looking forward to this getting moving.
One more item, as far as this loan, the loan proceeds, the proceeds that pay this loan come from the water sewer fund.
Correct. They come from the capital fund, that's the add-on that's on the bill that was added about.
And that's specific
a little over a year
in
ago.
this resolution, and it does not come from general fund, from the city per se. It's not really considered a debt of the city, though it is a debt of the water wastewater system.
Correct.
Okay.
Other discussion, please. Commissioner Densberger says it's okay.
Well, Your Honor, we did a long study when we entered into this process as far as how quickly to raise water sewer bills, the capital fund that Mr. Barron refers to cover the expected expense, and by projections, it should be covered, yes.
All righty, roll call, please.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Densberger?
Aye.
Jeffers?
Aye.
Call?
Aye.
Mayor Mingus?
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you very much.
Since we passed this resolution, there is another resolution that comes upon this where it does authorize a public hearing to actually make it available for the public input in terms of this loan. It's all a matter of correct procedure, and I will read it at length here, and it will actually empower our Public Works Director to set a date for that public hearing in the future. A resolution authorizing a public hearing for the city's sanitary sewer system upgrade project. Whereas the city has heretofore submitted an application to the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency for a loan from the Water Pollution Control Loan Program in the amount of $57,348,000 for the purpose of constructing improvements to the city's sanitary sewer system, including improvements and upgrades to wastewater treatment plant number 1, wastewater treatment plant number 3, and the Route 8 pump station. And whereas, as a condition to receipt of the loan, representatives of the city are required to conduct a public hearing to address issues related to the project, including, in particular, the environmental impacts of the project and the preliminary environmental impact determination made by the IEPA for the project, And whereas it is in the best interest of the city to authorize Public Works Director Dennis Barron, the director, to schedule and conduct the necessary public hearing for the project, now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of East Peoria, Tazewell County, Illinois, that the director is hereby authorized and directed to schedule and conduct a public hearing on the public, including in particular the environmental impacts of the project and the preliminary environmental impact determination made by the IEPA for the project in accordance with any and all eligible applications. Mr. Mayor, I move you that resolution number 1819-053 be adopted as presented.
Second.
Mr. Densberger?
Thank you. This is, as I said, this allows us to set the public hearing.
Other discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Densberger?
Aye.
Jeffers?
Aye.
Call?
Aye.
Mayor Mingus?
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Jeffers. Commissioner Call.
Sir, I have one item this evening, resolution number 1819-055. Resolution authorizing temporary increase in the number of police officers in the East Peoria Police Department. Whereas Title I, Chapter 3, Section 7.1 of the East Peoria City Code authorizes the City Council to determine from time to time by resolution the number of individuals to hold each rank in the police department. And whereas one of the patrolmen in the police department has informed the city of his pending retirement from the East Peoria Police Department effective in the next couple of months, but will be on leave until his retirement date. And whereas, because of the lengthy process for bringing a new patrolman on staff, the East Peoria Police Department would like to begin the hiring process as soon as possible for a new patrol officer in order to allow the new patrolman to begin basic training on September 15, 2018. And whereas it is in the best interest of the City of East Peoria to temporarily increase the total number of individuals holding the rank of patrolman on the East Peoria Police Department from 38 to 39, and whereas it is further in the best interest of the city that after the patrolman's retirement, the City of East Peoria decrease the total number of individuals holding the rank of patrolman on the East Peoria Police Department from 39 to 38. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the City of East Peoria, Tazewell County, Illinois, that Section 1, effective immediately, the staffing level for the Police Department of the City of East Peoria shall consist of the following personnel. A, 1 police chief. B, 2 deputy chiefs. C, 7 sergeants. D, 39 patrolmen. Section 2, the police chief is hereby authorized and directed to notify the Police and Fire Commission of the temporary increase in patrolmen and to request the Police and Fire Commission to undertake the process of appointing a patrolman to fill the position hereby created. Section 3, effective on the retirement of the patrolman, the staffing level for the Police Department of the City of East Peoria shall return to the following personnel. A, 1 police chief. B, 2 deputy chiefs. C, 7 sergeants. D, 38 patrolmen. Mr. Mayor, I move you that resolution number 1819-055 be adopted as presented.
Second, please. Mr. Decker?
Thank you, Commissioner Decker. Long story short, we have an officer that's given a verbal commitment to the city that he may be retiring as early as October of this year. He's currently off duty on a work-related injury. So I know this just because the fire department's dealt with the same thing over the last couple of years where there's specific training academies that we don't control the date. Now, if we don't hit that mark and bring this individual on, the next academy is not till January, at which time we'll be incurring a massive amount of overtime to cover that position. So it is clearly in the best interest to do this.
Thank you. On behalf of the command staff and myself, thank you for the council for doing it for us. We're really grateful.
Commissioner, I agree. In fact, you mentioned that this officer has made his intentions known to retire. The way I look at it is even if that did not happen, we talked about earlier workman's comp claims that are there. I believe that this is a financial benefit to do this, even if that officer would choose to stay a little bit longer, because we do have officers out of work right now. I believe it's less expensive to get this person on and working as quickly as possible. So I wish we did more things like this because when we have to cover these slots with overtime from people that with much more seniority, much more years of longevity, they're much more expensive to hire back in overtime. So this is I guess, a proactive thing that I wish we'd do more of.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Densberger?
Aye.
Jeffers?
Aye.
Call?
Aye.
Mayor Mingus?
Aye.
All present voting aye, Your Honor.
Thank you very much.
all
Thank
I
you,
have,
Commissioner
sir.
McCall. Anybody in the audience want to speak to the council on a non-agenda item, come forward. Bob, you beat Don. Come on up.
Pardon me, sir. Is your name Norm? Yes. I ain't seen you in a long time. I bought a set of ramps from you. Since the last council meeting, I went to about 9 different towns. One had city manager type, okay? And I didn't just go to City Hall. I went around to the different restaurants and places where people were gathering. And kind of lied a little bit, in as much as I said I was looking for a new place to light. And at all of them in the city manager type government, every one of them told me at these different restaurants that I talked to, one there was about 10 in one clutch and 4 or 5 in another one. And they said, for Christ's sakes, don't move here, said we are taxed to death. He said, all they get done uptown is write new taxes. So I'm kind of stepping on Mr. Densberger's toes a little, but that's just what I found out. The others I went to had aldermen, okay? Some had 6, some had a few more, and what have you, okay? And when I talked to them and the people in the city hall, I said, well, can you ever get all these aldermen to ever agree on anything? And I said, and they all told me that the only thing I can tell you is we do get something done from time to time. Okay, so now, Norm, I'm not meaning to step on your toes, but to go to, this is my opinion, we all got one. If you go to the alderman type, like Mr. Densberger said, this could end up, would you say 7 or 8 different ones?
It could end up with 14 aldermen and a mayor.
Right, 14 aldermen. So now, we got 5 up here that we can't always get to agree. And of course, I never agree with nothing, so that don't count. But anyway, so can you imagine if we had 14 we had to try to get to agree? Would we ever get anything done? I don't know. Do you? Okay, well, there we go. So I'm not pro and con, I'm definitely against city manager. I made that clear from day one. But anyway, that don't mean nothing. I'm just telling you what I found out because I put on a lot of miles and burn up a lot of gas, but I wanted to see. And there is always a possibility I could be hunting another place to light, depending on where these sewer bills go and a lot of this other stuff. And then, I don't know that this is true, okay? I've had many people tell me this. Like, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce wants $1 a gallon for gas tax. The state wants $1. And then, of course, you know the counties is gonna want some. And anybody that's got city managers, well, they're gonna wanna put theirs on. And, you know, one of these days, our government is going to back a bunch of all us old gray-headed boogers back in the hole till we can't back up no further. And can you just imagine, in a town this size, if a third of them sort of kind of rebelled? That'd be something like, oh, what, a little over 7,000 people. Now, you take that 7,000 old fogies, and you put all their years on the planet, okay, together, they could be some pretty ornery old turds. And so I don't care what you guys do because I can't change your mind's made up, okay? But you ought to think about it a little bit. And I've heard all of you say that you're going to do what's in the best interest of the city. Thank you for that, okay? But what you got to stop and realize, gentlemen, is there's 22,995 other people that live in this town. And you 5 brings it up to 23,000, okay? Now, you're gonna do what's best for the city. But you know, every once in a while, even, you gotta throw a dog a bone. You know what I'm saying? You gotta give the people something they want. I'm not saying you gotta give me what I want, or what he wants, or what Norm wants, or Don back there. But every once in a while, you gotta throw the dog a bone. You know what I'm saying? And in this going on 18 months, I'm not sure, 17, 18 months I've been coming here regularly, probably.
Keep talking. Finish, Bob.
Finish your sentence,
And
please.
listening, and I may have missed one meeting. I'm not sure, okay? But I've missed not over two anyway. And you've all wanted to do what's best for the city, and that's great. But I've never heard you once, not once, mention anything about what's best for the citizens. Not one time. That I am sure of. So I can't confuse you with facts because your minds are made up. So you're going to have to do whatever you damn please, which you're going to do anyway. But I just wanted to throw that out.
Thank you, Bob. Glad you're here.
Thank you.
Got 2 minutes, Don.
I'll get it done real fast then.
You take your time.
So, Bob talked about the form of government, and I don't think really it's about a consensus of 5 people. The issue with the form of government is that one person over one department has total say-so. And that's the issue. I'd rather have 5 people coming to a consensus about all the departments instead of one person making decisions about that department. So really, the managerial form or the alderman form, either one would be better than what we have today, which is one person makes all the decisions for one department. So I still, you can't get a consensus between you 5 all the time. You do sometimes. The same thing with managerial or alderman. You get a consensus sometimes, but not all the time. So the whole basis of this is one person has total say-so over one department instead of 5 people making good decisions for everybody in the city. And if I may ask one other question about the sewer loan. Does that 57 million lock in the interest rate at its current rate for the life? Or do you have to adjust for every time you go back and ask for more money?
I believe what that does is actually lock in the minute you take the first phase, let's say, and we say we're going to borrow whatever it is, 20 million to do the first phase, you're locked in at that rate. The next time when you go to do phase B, you're locked in at the current rate. The current rate right now, I believe, is 1.84%. So it's an extremely low interest rate.
So it's actually gone up a little bit from when you first started all this here. And my concern is the Fed talks about raising rates, 4 more times. Interest rates are going to start climbing, so the sooner we get it done, probably better off we are.
Good point.
You are correct, but I know they did, in our spreadsheet that we utilize for this, they did, I believe, put in 1.84, I think 2%, 2.1, and 2.2, so we did bump them percentages up each phase to accommodate what happens if it does go up in our planning process, so that we could make sure that we got the rate set at the amount that would leave us with the right amount of revenue in the bank still, to make sure we had all the bills being able to be covered. So we did accommodate for some of that, but although we can't predict exactly where it's going to end up.
And on $57 million, a few basis points is a lot of money.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Don, very much.
you.
Anybody else? Comments from the council? Commissioner Decker.
Cleanup week, September 10th through the 14th, correct, Dennis? All right. I want to make sure everybody understands that, and I think a lot of people are looking forward. I've seen people, it looks like they're getting stuff ready already. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Densberger.
I'll just address one thing about the change in the form of government. I supported putting the question on for the managerial form. I agree with what Don said. I think it's time for the city to move away from the commission form. I don't necessarily have a problem with the aldermanic form if that's what the people chose, but the question that came before us leaves far too much uncertainty as to what, how, what happens. No one knows. We have an election coming up in April, and those very candidates and the citizens that would be voting for them wouldn't necessarily know what they're even getting. That's my problem with the question. If if the citizens would prefer the aldermanic form, I think it's probably preferable to what we have today.
Thank you. What else, Commissioner?
That's all I have, sir.
That's all? Thank you. Commissioner Jeffers?
Just a comment. We haven't had a lot of employment issues in my years here as far as employees. We've been pretty stable. There's been a few, and I've actually, maybe the question that came up in the audience about an employment decision that ultimately Commissioner Decker made. I sat through a few hours of some of the deliberation of that, just as a fact finding or just to be there. I had no decision in it per se, but I will say this, that knowing what I know and knowing, I guess, maybe the fuller story and maybe the other sides of the story, I can see very well where Commissioner Decker came down. I know that there can be people that disagree with that, but knowing, again, some things can be black and white, but yet there's some things that if you do this, then this, then this, and it can really spread other things. And in my view, I guess I could have maybe taken either direction as far as a decision, A or B, but I do support Commissioner Decker and what he decided. It was not easy. I know there's been decisions where he's had to agree with staff and HR and legal as to what we do. We have contracts that cover a lot of our working situations here, and there's representation on that, and that is, and there are straight parameters that you can dismiss people and so forth. It's very much there, but there are areas, and having the whole thing where legal is involved and HR and precedent and so forth that come in. And just to say, though, that I can see where that can happen. I know Commissioner Decker has stood by and watched good people get let go because they had no case, and it just was a situation where they actually made the decision to let themselves go. And that was a different case. And so he's not been a blanket person just to always just say, well, yes, we're going to keep this person, we're going to keep this person, but it's been a very case-by-case basis. There's not been many, and they're not pleasant at all. They're not pleasant, but that's the job that we have been elected to represent the city and make those decisions. So as far as any one of us making a decision over our department, ultimately the council as a whole makes the budget decisions, and that really is what sets priority. And I think there's a check and balance. I mean, we ourselves, if any one council member is out of line on certain things, we are accountable to each other as a group and individually. And I think you can rest well that if I were to do something really wrong or I was really overstepping or wasn't ethical, maybe I had the authority to do it, that any one of these gentlemen, and the mayor included, would pull me aside and say, well, Commissioner Jeffers, do you think you should really do this or not? And they would be within their bounds to do that. So we all live with that and all have our different styles, but I think, I said before, it comes down to the type of people you have sitting up here behind this, the dais here that makes decisions, whatever form you want to take is fine, but the people have to have a good heart and to do the right thing. So anyway, schools here, I will make this note. My daughter's a teacher in District 86, the grade school. I think she's in her 14th year. Talk about a challenge. Every year is a new challenge, but she has 27 in first grade. You think your day's hard? Think about this one. 27 first graders, of which 17 are boys. And so there's one other class in first grade there at Woodrow Wilson. They have 26 in that class. So that's a good thing for our city, where our schools are having to maneuver and try and keep the classes balanced, and it's a tremendous job they try and do. I know, Mayor, you've been on the school board, Commissioner Dinsberger on the school board, and that's a tough one. But there are some positive things about our community. but it does drive class size, and that's a problem, yet it's a good thing. And so, talked to my daughter last night after her first night. She says, yep, went home and didn't pick up anything. She's prepared. She says, it was a good day. Things went okay. And she's off to another year. So that's her outlook, and making the best of it.
Thank you, Commissioner Jeffers. Commissioner Call.
Just a couple of comments. I wasn't going to elaborate any further on the comments I made previously about the employee that Norm had brought up and questioned, but I'm still confused as how, as a council, we have a say in the budget is related to a commissioner making a unilateral decision to bring a terminated employee back. I will go further and state the police report was done probably a couple months after the incident, and quite honestly, the state's attorney had no desire to pursue charges simply because the city not only waited to file a police report, quite honestly, we had already brought the employee back. So for that reason alone. And as I stated, I have my own frustrations with some of the decisions that have been made in the last couple of years. But when it comes to the change of form of government, despite my personal opinion of some of these decisions that I view have set a terrible precedence for this city, in particular that one, I think those actions can be held accountable at a different time. I don't think this council's place is to get involved in changing the form of government. It's just my opinion. I've stated it, and I'm going to stay consistent. Not that I don't disagree with your position as a citizen. I think it should be driven by the citizens. So, one other quick note that I was prepared to make. I know the Journal-Star, and I guess if you actually get yours delivered, you would have
Isn't that the
seen.
truth?
Yeah, and it's the truth.
That's
Unless
another
you're like
thing.
me and you got to call 686-3161 and hit 121111 every day to ask it to be delivered. By the way, I'm not upset about it, in case anyone wondered. Nonetheless, the city has installed a drop box in front of the Public Safety Building, 201 West Washington Street. And I think it's important for the public to realize that it's there. And it's honestly a really great thing. It's where you can drop off expired and unwanted medications that are safely disposed of. And in light of the epidemic that we have throughout this nation, quite honestly, I encourage people, if you have old medicine or any type of medication that's no longer in use or of value, please discard it. We have the means here in the city for you to do it. It's a safe way of getting rid of medication and ensuring they won't get in the hands of people that don't need to be using. So, that's all I
Thank
have,
you,
sir.
Commissioner. And you're right, man. I'm out there every 10 minutes looking for my newspaper. Commissioner Call and I had a great time. It must have been Monday at the school with 100 citizens coming in and welcoming the students back and giving them high fives and applauding them as they came. It was really a cool event. I give Lincoln a lot of credit for doing that. The other thing is that the duck race will be this weekend, and that's something that you really don't want to miss. 30,000 ducks. Commissioner will tell you, and Chief, that fire hose is pushing them down there, and it's one solid yellow mass of ducks coming down there.
Quite the sight to see.
Pretty cool. So, and there are activities prior to that. I think that kicks off at 1, if I'm not mistaken. Then the last but not least, in total transparency, that's something I got from Commissioner Call. Noon, excuse me. Thanks, Doug. And Doug, thank you for what you do there. How many years has it been now? 3, and Carol Myrna, the director, is just so thankful to us. I want to make it known that I still continue to believe in that we need to change the form of government. I believe it very strongly. However, from the last meeting, it's become ever so evident that the more we dig into this, and I appreciate Attorney Triggs, who is better with me, the more we dig, the more uncertain it becomes. Is that a fair statement? And I think in light of what you said, Bob, it's in the best interest of the citizens that we reconsider that and consider repealing that question based upon the fact that it's a bit embarrassing when we can't give those numbers, plus other information has come forth, just really isn't, this isn't the time or place to continue, I don't believe. So we're going to call a special meeting, hopefully on Friday. The press will be informed, and it'll be the nature of the meeting. Hopefully they'll come so the media doesn't chase us down like they did last time, Commissioner Densberger, and interrupt our day. And we'll be putting on the website information that I want the community to be aware of, and it'll show everywhere you see presume, and there's several places where it says presume in the information we're about to give the citizens and the council. That's an area of unknown, and we're going to be spending a ton of money in the unknown areas and possible litigation, and it's just time to, if we're going to do it right and pull back and reconvene. So with that said,
Actually, Your Honor, relative to the media, when, they weren't here for that meeting, Channel 25
yes, sir.
did reach out to us. You and I both spoke with them. And I talked with the reporter, and she encouraged me to talk to her news director, which I did. And I pointed out to them that, I know backyard chickens are important to a lot of people, but when you have an issue like that, and the press and the media is chasing us for a month to talk about that particular topic, but when we have something as vital as changing our form of government for the city, nobody shows up.
That's exactly right.
And I told them that I thought that was absolutely ridiculous.
But they want us immediately.
They wanted us to talk with them after the fact, and I told them I thought it was absolutely ridiculous that they can't provide better coverage and media representation than that.
Very good. So hopefully we can get that meeting done on Friday. Is there a motion to adjourn, please?
Mr. Mayor, move that we adjourn until Tuesday evening, September 4th, 2018 at 6 p.m.
Second, please.
Second.
Commissioner Decker, roll call, please.
Commissioner Decker?
Aye.
Densberger?
Aye.
Thank you,
Jeffers?
John.
Aye.
Call?
Aye.
Mayor Mingus?
Aye.
All present voting, aye, Your Honor.
We are adjourned. Gary, I've got to say.